I'm like really putting myself out there. So the year is 2015 and I was living in Redding, California. And I decided, you know what, like Tinder's a big thing. Let's download it. Let's see what's happening. Spoiler alert, I hate Tinder. And, you know, swiping, having a good time, swipe, swipe, swipe. But I was so new to it that I never started the conversation. So if they didn't, we just wouldn't talk and they would just be in my matches. So one time I was hanging out with my friend Cameron. I was telling him, I'm like, oh, there's so many guys that just don't start conversations. And he's like, can I grab your phone and just like message these guys? He was going through and typing in, thanks for starting the conversation, fuck you. And nobody replied to those. Except for one guy, and I'm gonna change the name. His name was Marty. Replied back and said, I'm so sorry, like I never started the conversation. Oh, we should totally go out. And I was like, oh, okay. I have a rule. I never let the guy pick me up on our first date. I want to be able to leave if I feel uncomfortable. So we meet at Barnes & Noble. We just like hit it off right away. And he held my hand. Afterwards, he was like, all right, well, I'm moving into this new apartment. And so after I move in, you know, we could totally go out again. So come to find out, he moved in across the street from me. Yeah. So far it was like going well, so I wasn't like too concerned about it, whatever. So anyway, he picks me up for our second date and it's cold outside, so I'm wearing gloves and I had just gotten my nose piercing, so it was freshly pierced. It was a little sore. I get in the car and he's like, how was your day? And I like to talk like this sometimes. If I'm getting really into a story, I'll just be like, yeah. And my glove got caught on my freshly pierced nose ring and I went like this and it flung off and I'm like, oh, the pain was so real. And I look over and he's like holding his eye. So yeah, I had flung it off into his eye and my nose is bleeding. He's like, all right, well, let's pull in here. And we pull into like this random coffee shop. And so I put my nose ring back in, clean up my nose. It's looking fine. And I go out and he had a coffee for me. He had gotten a coffee. He's like, let's just take a walk, you know? We're walking along and I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody, but it's a thing. It does happen where like you have a muscle spasm and like some part of your body will just like shake. On this date, it's when my body decides to just give up. The hand that I'm holding my coffee and walking literally just starts to spasm like this. And my coffee is like all over my jacket, all over the ground, gets on our shoes, and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, I have no idea what just happened. He has to go out again and I was super stoked. We talked about going to play pool. We got along pretty well by this point and I was like, I should invite my friends John and Cameron. We set a date and a time. He's like, let's just meet there. Me, John, and Cameron, we get there. We're queuing up. I think it's called a queuing up. Or no, the thing is called a queue. What's the chalk stuff? Is that just called chalk? Well, anyway, we're putting that stuff on our sticks. And I'm waiting and he's like 5 minutes late and I'm like, eh. Then he's 10 minutes late and eventually he's like an hour late. Tried calling him, no reply. So I went home and I was just like trying not to let it upset me. Remember, he moved in across the street and there was his light on. So I'm like, well, he's clearly home. I finally got a reply from him and it was this long message and he was like, hey, so I got to talking with an old friend of mine who I liked in the past and she's single now and we decided to just be together and try to make it work. People can do that, that's fine. You find somebody else, it's great. Would have been cool if you didn't stand me up and you could have told me or called me. But again, we live across the street from each other, okay? I would pull up from work, pull up to my home, and he would be outside his home smooching his new girl. You can't take it inside, you gotta do it in the street. I wasn't super upset that it didn't work out. because things just don't work out sometimes. I think what upset me is communication and the fact that you can't just make out with your girlfriend inside. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you subscribe so you don't miss out on more M's love life stories. That was a pretty good one, but I've got some really odd ones coming up, so